I started sleeping with the light on when the feeling wouldn't go away. Not because I was afraid of the dark. I'd outgrown that years ago. But because darkness made it easier to pretend I was alone. With the light on, my room felt real, solid, observable. The posters on my walls didn't shift. The corners stayed where they belonged. And still, every night, something watched me sleep. I didn't notice it at first. That's the part that scares me most now. The idea that it had been there long before I ever became aware of it. The watching didn't announce itself with footsteps or breathing. It arrived as a certainty, a quiet, absolute knowledge that when my eyes closed, I was no longer unobserved. It felt like attention, heavy, focused, patient, the kind that doesn't blink. The first few nights, I told myself it was stress. School had been rough, sleep schedule messed up, brain doing weird things between waking and dreaming. I read about it online. How the mind can invent sensations as it shuts down. How the body sometimes panics when it thinks it's losing control. That explanation worked until I realized something important. That feeling only came when I couldn't see. I tested it one night, lying completely still on my back. I stared at the ceiling until my eyes burned. Nothing. No pressure. No sense of being watched. My room felt empty, in a comforting way. Then I closed my eyes. Immediately, it returned. It wasn't like fear. Fear has a direction. You're scared of something. This was different. It was like being placed under a microscope. Like something had finally been given permission to look. I opened my eyes again. Gone. That's when I started sleeping with my eyes open as long as I could, forcing myself to blink just enough to keep them from drying out. I felt ridiculous doing it. But every time my eyelids fell, even for a second, the attention snapped back into place, closer than before. By the end of the week, I was exhausted. That's when I decided to prove I wasn't imagining it. The idea of recording myself felt stupid at first, like something out of a bad horror movie. But the logic was impossible to ignore. If something was there, watching me, a camera would see it. And if there was nothing, I'd finally have proof that my brain was lying. I borrowed an old camcorder from the storage closet. It still worked, somehow, and had a night mode that turned everything an ugly green. I set it up on my desk, angled so it could see the entire bed. I checked the framing 3 times. Before getting into bed, I stood in front of the camera and waved. "See?" I said quietly, feeling embarrassed even though no one was watching. "Nothing." I slept poorly that night. The watching feeling came and went, stronger than ever. But I forced myself not to react. I kept thinking about the footage waiting for me in the morning. Whatever was happening, I'd see it soon. That thought comforted me. It shouldn't have. The footage was exactly what I expected. 8 hours of nothing. I fast-forwarded through myself, tossing and turning, pulling the blanket over my head, rolling onto my side. The room never changed. No shadows moved on their own. No shapes crept along the walls. I laughed when it ended. A real laugh, loud and relieved. I deleted the video and promised myself I'd stop fixating on it. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. I still felt watched, but now it felt distant, curious even. Like whatever had been paying attention was reconsidering me. The next morning, my desk chair was closer to my bed. I stood in the doorway staring at it, trying to remember moving it. I couldn't. I told myself I must have kicked it closer in my sleep. I didn't believe that explanation. So I set the camera up again. This time, I checked the footage more carefully. At first, it was the same as before. Nothing unusual. Just me sleeping. The clock on my nightstand ticked forward in tiny digital jumps. Then, at 2:42 a.m., the camera moved. Not fell, not jolted. It adjusted. The angle shifted slightly downward, smooth and deliberate, as if someone had reached out and tilted it. My heart started racing. I rewound the clip and watched it again, slower this time. There was no hand, no shadow crossing the lens. The camera simply obeyed an invisible instruction. I watched the rest of the footage with my breath held. At 3:01 a.m., I sat up in bed. My eyes were closed. I didn't remember doing that. I sat perfectly still, head tilted slightly toward the camera, like I was listening to something I couldn't hear while awake. Then my mouth moved. The audio picked up a whisper, distorted and soft. "You can blink now." I slammed the laptop shut. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my bed with the lights on, staring at the door, the corners, the ceiling. the watching feeling was gone. Not reduced, gone completely. That terrified me more than anything else. It felt like holding your breath underwater and realizing you no longer need to. Around dawn, exhaustion dragged my eyes closed despite everything. The watching returned instantly, closer than it had ever been. I didn't open my eyes. I didn't need to. Something leaned over me. I couldn't feel it physically, but the sense of proximity was overwhelming. It felt like standing face to face with someone inches away, close enough to feel their presence without touching. I stayed perfectly still. Then, very gently, something adjusted the blanket under my chin. I woke up late that morning with the blanket neatly tucked around me. The camcorder was off. The camcorder was turned off. I didn't remember turning it off. I checked the footage anyway. The last clip ended at 3:17 a.m., right after I sat up and spoke. After that, nothing. No recording of me lying back down. No explanation. But something new had appeared. In the reflection of the camcorder's lens, faint but unmistakable, was a shape standing beside my bed. It didn't look wrong at first glance. It was tall, thin, roughly human in outline. What made my stomach twist was the way it bent, leaning toward me in a posture that suggested familiarity, interest. Its face wasn't visible, not because it was hidden, but because the camera refused to focus on it. I stopped sleeping in my room after that. I tried the couch, then the floor of my parents' room, then staying awake as long as I could, chugging energy drinks and scrolling on my phone until my vision blurred. It didn't matter. Every time I slept, even for a minute, I woke with the same certainty. Something had been there, watching, learning. I stopped using the camera. That didn't stop it from using it. Last night, I woke up with my phone balanced on my chest, recording my face. The screen showed my own closed eyes, my breath slow and steady. Behind me, reflected faintly in the dark screen, something leaned closer. I didn't move. I didn't blink. The recording stopped on its own. I haven't watched it yet. I'm afraid that if I do, I'll finally see it clearly. And I don't think it wants me to look through a screen anymore. I think it's been waiting for me to open my eyes.